Theresa May speaking in Manchester at the Conservative Party conference. With me now is Saira, Chief Executive of the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. It's good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. Are you one of those people who would say that we need to manage the consequences of migration, not reduce the numbers?
I am indeed. And this government has done nothing to manage the consequences of migration. It's pledged, a contribution fund where the contribution migrants make would go back into the communities where migration is high, but we've not seen that. What we have seen is a rather scaremongering right-wing speech by the Home Secretary which talks about migration destroying social cohesion. Well, actually, it's her policies that are destroying social cohesion, not immigration.
OK, she points to a number of facts. She says that tens of thousands of new homes, hundreds of thousands of new homes need to be built to deal with the number of migrants coming into the country. Would you agree with that?
Well, her facts actually are selective and quite inaccurate, as are many of her statistics that she was quoting today. We do need to build homes, and there need to be school places, etc., but all of that can easily be done by the contribution migrants make. That is what we're not doing. We're not managing migration properly. We're not putting in place policies that would alleviate the stress in certain areas within the UK. Instead, we are creating a climate of fear that migration is bad for the UK. It's quite the opposite.
But you agree that there is pressure on housing, there is pressure on school places, people forced out of the labour market?
Well, the latter is completely wrong.
So you agree with the other two, and you believe the government should be doing more to deal with that, education and housing?
And it's not just because of immigration.
Not just because of immigration.
We do need to be building more homes, which we aren't doing.
Fine, OK. What about people being forced out of the labour market?
Well, that's absolutely inaccurate.
Right.
I mean, the Office of Budget Responsibility have talked about this. Her own department produced figures not so long ago that show there's no displacement because of immigration. That is completely inaccurate to suggest that. And that's what I mean by scaremongering. It's selective facts that just create a climate of fear. Immigration is a problem. It is not immigration that is the problem. It is the policies that this government is and isn't adopting that are the problem.
What is your upper limit on immigration? What would you say you say there shouldn't be one?
I don't think you can put an upper limit. I mean, let's face it, it is this very Home Secretary who's presided over the last 5.5 years with all her policies in place to control immigration, and she has spectacularly failed. She's talking as if she's a shadow Home Secretary, as if this wasn't under her watch. So you cannot control immigration by putting an arbitrary figure on it. It is impossible, because demand and supply, global movement, these are all part of the reality of 2015 Britain. So there's no way that we can put an upper limit.
None at all? You can have endless numbers of people coming to this country. That's not a problem.
What we need to do is have controls in place, which we do. We probably have the most restrictive controls, and yet we've seen net migration increase. Why? Because our economy has recovered. And let me add, not despite of immigration, because of immigration. Again, we've got evidence from the Office of Budget Responsibility saying our economic recovery has been fueled by migration. So this is a complex economic scenario where demand and supply will demand the numbers of people coming in. You cannot put an arbitrary figure in migration. They've tried it and they've failed, haven't they?
All right. Saira Grant, it's good to see you, Chief Executive of the Joint Council for the Welfare of Migrants. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Now, a court in Nottingham has heard how a doctor stopped an attempt to save a 6-year-old boy after getting him mixed up with another child who was under a do not resuscitate order. Now, the doctor and 2 nurses are facing